It's an experience walking in because you have this like crazy wall just full of bourbon.
We've had probably 3 states that have really inquired about wanting Watchill.
Like you look at a place like Ruth Chris, and I don't even think Ruth Chris has like the level of detail that Watchill has.
The #1 authenticator in the world is the guy who wrote the American Pie movies.
When I first started hiring employees, it was a big just mindset shift of like how to manage that. Sitting down with the owner of Watchill Proper today in Norton Commons, literally down the street from where the studio is.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about how you, how you even came to be in that position, like the beginning.
So I was at Heaven Hill, and I'll give you this version of it, which is the little more in detailed version. I was at Heaven Hill. I never thought I'd leave Heaven Hill. I loved it there. They kind of let me do kind of a smorgasbord of different things, some writing and some teaching and that type of thing, which was just up my alley. I was Bleacher dads with Josh, who's the other partner, and it's just Josh and I. And we were Bleacher dads, watch our kids play baseball, and we would talk bourbon while we were on the bleachers. And so Josh has an engineering firm here locally. He would bring his clientele. When some of them came in, he would bring them down to Heaven Hill, and I may give them a behind-the-scenes kind of tour. And, at some point, Josh asked me, been in the industry for a long time, and asked me if there was anything that I had ever thought about doing I just didn't pursue. And there was certainly a couple things. You always have thoughts about the ideas that you would like to do. One of them was, I thought it'd be cool. There's so many social media groups, bourbon groups, and a lot of them don't have brick and mortar. So our original idea was just to go and buy a house and gut it, make it very bourbon centric. We could rent it out on the weekends or whatever, and then clean it up and rent it out again. I tell people that idea lasted about 12 minutes. We went and looked at one house about 3 miles from here, actually, and we were coming through on Meeting Street in Norton Commons, and we saw the building we're at now, and it was just a white shell. And it just so happened the agent kind of walked in front of the car, and we were like, hey, what do you know about this building? And she's like, I know everything about the building. I'm the agent on it. And so grabbed some drywall buckets and sat in there and nothing, just a white shell. Asked her some questions, and, she kind of asked us about what our idea was, and she took it to her bosses, and they absolutely hated the idea, and it was pretty well over at that point. We had been kind of formulating a business plan. Josh actually wrote the business plan. I got it to really the power that be in here. I think it was Charles Osborne III, and got to him. He really hated the idea. Got it to him. He read the business plan. Come to find out, he had told one of his employees that in 50 years of being in development, it was the best business plan he had ever read. So he would give us 30 minutes, and so everything was Zoom or whatever. But back then, there was no in person.
Yep.
So we met with him, and he understood where we were coming from. We had this very unique idea. Our tagline from the start has been nothing foreign, nothing clear, and no beer. He didn't get the concept of why you would open up a place like we have and not serve vodka or tequila or gin or beer. He just didn't get it. At the end of the meeting, he pretty well said, I still think it's a silly idea, but I'll give you the space. And then it got real. And then it was like, oh, wow. Here we go. We were actually where Quill's is originally. And then they shifted us because we really wanted the Quill spot. I like that little outdoor patio thing that they have there. And I'm so glad that we were moved. Our spot is just so conducive to what we do now. So, it's so funny with Charles Osborne. He always traveled with a group of people, and he was in Watchill one time, and he was with a big group of people, and I made eye contact with him, but I never really got to go over there and say thank you or whatever. And so the second time he was in, I made sure that when he walked outside, I walked up to him and said, thank you for the opportunity for us to put Watchill in. And he had been there several times, and he looked at me and he said, I was wrong. I thought that was pretty cool, especially evidently coming from him. He was, he was a good guy. He died about 2 years ago, but I'm glad that I got to meet him. I'm glad he got to see what our vision was, and he was super impressed. So.
Okay, so walk through. So there's like a lot of nitty gritty stuff that kind of flew over there.
Yeah.
With you guys getting funding for this, was it self-funded?
Yeah,
was
self-funded.
Okay, you guys self-funded that.
Yeah.
How much did that build out cost for that guy?
Oh my gosh. Well, we got a builder's allowance a little bit, which helped. It's probably $3 million, I would think.
And that's the purchase of the property, and
we didn't purchase the property.
So you guys just
we leased it from Lyric.
Okay. Oh, from Lyric.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lyric we're encapsulated by 273 apartments. So that's why Charles didn't like it. He wanted a lot of moving bodies out front, with shops and people going shop to shop. And he thought, well, that ain't going to happen if there's a bar there, And so, but then when we really explained to him, like we opened up April 8th of 22 as the largest American whiskey bar in the world, which that was just not anything that we had planned. It just kind of happened. I mean, we got to the point where it's like, well, we're already here, so we might as well go here. And we're already here, so we might as well go. So, it just kept getting a little more grandiose. And so, yeah, but we never have any designed on being the largest American whiskey bar in the world. But, so, yeah, the build out was, we had some PE money for sure. But no, it's funny. I've had people say, well, who's the corporation behind you and Josh? And I always turn around and look and like, who is that corporation? It was, but, it is what it is. I mean, luckily, we're not too far in debt still. So
that's good. Well, I mean, you look at you guys never been to one Watchill Proper. It's a thing. Like it's an experience walking in because you have this like crazy wall just full of bourbon.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many 1,000 bottles. How many bottles do you think are in there?
Right now it's a little over 2,400 unique expressions.
A lot of bottles.
Probably 4,000 bottles in the house, but about 24 of them on the big wall. That was the plan. It had to be something that got them when they walked in. The one of the very first ideas was to have the barrels all around the ceiling to make it kind of have a rick house effect. It's one of my first thoughts that I remember, and I have a little notepad that I've been carrying around with me for years, and I had sketched some barrels and I knew that we wanted to have that feel, but that wall, Josh is an engineer, so you think about some of the stuff that goes on in there. You can certainly tell. I mean, his handprint is all over the lockers and the big wall and that type of thing, and it's just it couldn't have turned out any better in my opinion.
Yeah, it really is an experience, and you look at the design. That's why I'm curious. Like, I thought it was like venture capital backed, or like this was a bigger thing that had financials because it's so in depth. Like you look at a place like Ruth Chris, and I don't even think Ruth Chris has like the level of detail that Watchill has when it comes to
probably
like
not.
Ladder.
It was big. That was a big deal for us. It had to be like that because we knew that we were going in already upside down with not serving any beer or vodka or gin. Mm-hmm. So it had to have that effect of it's the first time you see the ocean. You're like, oh, wow, that's crazy. That's what we had to have. And so we had to have it certainly for the folks of Norton Common, but we had to have it for the guy or the family from Pennsylvania and Florida. We started out, we were getting the people that were here for the Bourbon Trail. And now they're coming here for us and doing the Bourbon Trail. Mm-hmm. So we have a membership element to our club. We have members from over 40 states, which is, that's crazy. We have different membership dues and that type of thing. And it certainly has its privileges, discounts, and being able to go on barrel picks and that type of thing. But just to be, a little more recognized, not just here in Louisville, but all over. I mean, Josh and I do a little podcast for YouTube, and it's just the funniest thing. We were with our wives, and a guy was kind of standing about 5 feet from us, and you tell he wanted to walk up and say something. You could just tell, and he walked up, and he's like, I watch your all show, and we just thought we were the cock with the walk, man. We thought our wives were just looking at us in disgust, like, go take out the trash, man.
Yeah.
But it was cool that somebody came up and watched our we just review bottles. It's pretty, plain Jane, but it's cool. We have fun.
Well, but you guys love the craft.
We love it, man. We're just, like I say, Josh is so tied up with what he does in his, he's actually going through a little bit of a merger and stuff right now. And he's always on a plane, always. And so, I'm certainly kind of the managing working partner as well. I'm there all the time. But yeah, I hope that, he settles down because he loves it, and he's a lot of the buyer that we have. He finds the deals for bourbons. And a lot of the reason we've had probably 3 states that have really inquired about wanting Watchill there. Nashville being probably number 1,
yep.
Miami being 2, and Mississippi Chamber of Commerce came just to inquire about that. The difference is, this is the difference between us being able to do it and not really even being able to think about it, is that Kentucky has what's called the Kentucky Vintage Spirit Law. What that started coming about in 2020. It's kind of revised itself a little bit over the last 5 years. But what that meant is that if you had, or if your uncle or your grandfather or whatever had a bottle of vintage, old, dusty bourbon or whatever in their attic or in their cellar or wherever, you could now, as someone without a license, take that bottle to someone with a license and they could purchase it from you. It was never like that before. A license had to sell to a license. So you couldn't do it that way. But what happened is the governor back then said, look, there's probably a lot of whiskey out there that we could put back on the shelves somehow. And so it worked. So we have, there's a lot of paperwork. You got to do your paperwork, and they regulate it, which is fine. But if you do your paperwork and you keep your nose clean and be very upfront with them, they leave you alone. ABC leaves you alone. And so that's what we do. That's how we're able to find these bottles, because they're certainly not making pre-prohibition whiskey anymore, but we can find those deals, and we have found them from all over the country, people calling us and saying, hey, I have this. And it's like, send me some high def pictures. Let's talk.
Yeah. And it's just like bulk, or you guys still get, like, if you have 1 bottle, we'll get the 1 bottle from you.
Absolutely.
So any bottle.
Any bottle. We're always interested. Because we've had, a guy who had pre-prohibition whiskey. It had been in his family since then. So his great-great-great-grandfather, then great-great, then great, his dad, then him, had all run this liquor store. And we have it in our cases there, some from like 1917, 1927. There might even be some 1903 in there. It's just crazy. So yeah, and we have one-off bottles all the time that people will call us and say, I have this, and we'll look at it. I'm a pretty good authenticator. I don't trust myself when it gets into that type of thing. But we have a couple guys who are really good at doing the high dollar bottles. I would certainly want someone else to. Like I say, I can, and Josh is pretty good at it too. But when it gets into that type of money, we don't really mess with it. It's funny. The number 1 authenticator in the world is the guy who wrote the American Pie movies.
Oh, nice. That's funny.
Adam Hers is considered one of the the best authenticator in the world. And the reason he got ripped off. And so he became kind of obsessed with it. And I'm kind of late night Facebook friends with him. Like I'll ask him, hey, can you take a look at this bottle and that type of thing. So he started LA Whiskey Society. And so he's fully ingrained in the business.
Yeah. So, and these are bottles that you put on display, or are these bottles that you guys will sell to customers at a high ticket?
Everything's for drink.
Oh, for drink.
Everything is for drink. If you want, we do sell, we have a retail license, so we sell bottles too. There is a couple bottles that probably our most famous bottles, and we really have them, keep them locked up, but they were very expensive. The auctions do silly money, but we also have a 501c3 charity through this. And so when we do those bottles, when we get rid of those bottles, it's going we'll incorporate a dinner and a really nice tasting, and we'll probably give the lion's share of that money away. We like doing it. We have bottles that we have set aside just for. It's easy for us to give a $50 gift card to somebody, but if you give them a bottle of really nice bourbon, and today when you put it in silent auctions, that $100 bottle can draw $500.
Yeah.
And so we have bourbons that we've set aside for just that, just to give it to people. And so it's cool. We like helping out as much as we can. We get a lot of requests.
Yeah. No, I bet. Well, especially, so let's break down some of the nitty gritty when it comes to business here. I didn't even know you guys had this other aspect of like buying and selling bottles.
Yeah.
So
we have a whiskey company. We have a whiskey company too.
Okay. It's a whiskey company too.
Yeah. So we have Watchill Watcholl Whiskey Company.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we're diving into that. That's kind of where I'm at these days. We have great management. My son is our floor manager, and our general manager is Chris Ballou. And so I stay out of the way a lot. I touch a lot of tables in the evenings and say hi. And it's amazing that, people want to say hi to the owner, but they do. And so I kind of fill that role and shaking their hand and thanking them for coming in, making sure everything is going good. But then about a year and a half, a little over a year ago, we started Watchill Whiskey Company, and that's we sat in the front little bar on a Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning, and we start working on blends, and we put out a bottle a month, usually our stuff. Sometimes it can be things that we've done barrel picks with, but and then we have an exceptional series, which is very high end. We have a definitive series, which is not that high end, and we have a bottle club where we have subscriptions. So we have a lot of working parts, a lot of different things, a lot of just trying to create revenue streams. You know how that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you gotta have those.
Yeah. So okay, so right now you're kind of in the stage where you're future proofing yourself, where it's not dependent on just one or two things in the business.
For sure.
Is the whiskey company where you think the highest profit margin will be?
100%.
100%.
100%.
There, because the restaurants
we're going to cab. The restaurants are cab. I mean, especially we are pretty well landlocked, so it's not like we could have more butts and seats on maybe a Tuesday or Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Friday and Saturday we get to a lot of times where we're on a wait, and that's fun. And we try to make, if you're in there on a wait, we do have the little fermenter bar at the front, seats about 20 people. And we certainly try to get you in there. And if you can stand up, we're going to put a glass of champagne or something in your hand while you're waiting, because it sucks. You go there. And so we try to really make it as fun as it possibly can while you're waiting on your table. But the fact of the matter is that there's only X amount of seats in that place. And, our GM has created seats where I didn't think there was room to have seats, and that's cool. I GM'd it for the first year. Man, everybody is glad that year is over. He's just so much better at it than I ever was. My son is a way better manager than I ever was. And so, but the bottle club itself and the whiskey it's the expansion that we are looking for.
Yeah, and I know people can, because my parents were members, like they signed up when you guys first opened.
Yeah.
And they told me about it, and I was like, you guys paid how much for this thing? Because I just didn't understand what it was.
Yeah.
So walk me through, what is the bottle club? What is, people can buy a barrel? Like, walk us through what that looks like.
So we offer barrel picks, which are fun. We do, we're gearing up to really do quite a few of them in 26, which would mean, it used to be if you owned a liquor store or a restaurant, you were able to do these barrel picks where you get 6 or 8 of your friends or family or whoever wants to go, and you go out to wherever, you sample through 3 or 4 or 5 barrels, and you narrow it down from 5 to 4 to 3 to the final 2, and then you try to get everybody to agree on one. And so what we did is we hold our barrels out at in Frankfurt at Whiskey Thief Distillery, and we take people out there, take them to lunch, take them out there. We will do the barrel picks, and they're a huge hit. We want to do a lot of those, and what we do is we make it easy for that to happen, because for average Joe, and I was one of those for many years, is you can't get on them, because you had to know, like I say, you had to know somebody who was going through the liquor store or owned a restaurant or whatever. So those are fun. The bottle club itself, we started about a year and a half. It's really kind of headed up by Chris, our general manager. And that is, we're really not trying to put our products in total wine. Mm-hmm. We don't really care about that. What we like our built-in audience. So if we're producing 200 bottles a month and we have 250 or 300 members of our bottle club, we have a built-in audience. So that's where we have been focused for the last year. We have now signed with a company that's going to put us in 43 states. But what that's going to do, our focus in that 43 states is getting on the back bar of hotels and restaurants and getting in the mini bars. Also, in getting members in other states, because now what they'll be able to do, we can't ship. You can't ship spirits. They can't buy it from us and we can put it in the mail. But this company who we sign with can. So there'll be a process of you can go on Shopify or wherever we're going to be listed. You see the Watchill Whiskey Company's bottle. You can place your order. It shows up on your doorstep a couple days later. That's the future of where. That's one of the big things that we're focused on, is that, and then just to keep growing and making better whiskey products. I mean, we love it.
Now, what's the financials if someone wants to do these tours versus what's your bottle club?
So a barrel. So we have a set kind of dynamic on the barrels. We charge $12 a year for Indiana whiskey or bourbon. We charge $15 a year for Kentucky. So meaning that, if it's a 5-year-old bourbon and it's from Kentucky, you know what you're going to pay.
Yeah.
What is it, $60 or whatever. And if it's from Indiana, if it's from Kentucky, that 5-year bourbon costs you $75 a bottle. Your yield could be anywhere from 100 bottles to 150 bottles. A lot of people give them as gifts. They do Christmas gifts that way. We've had other liquor stores come and do what you do with them after it's left us. I mean, it's up to you. The cool thing about that price on those is that's everything. That's when you leave after doing that barrel pick. The next time you see your product, it will be boxed up, shrink wrapped. Label that you design. You get the whole label. It's not like you get a little quarter size sticker on there. You get to design the label and how it looks, and only thing that's on the back is the legalities.
Okay.
But so that's cool. So that, all of that stuff is incorporated in that price. We wanted to make it just a one fell swoop. You know exactly what you're going to. The only variable really in there is how big the yield is. And it's in a barrel. We can't exactly tell you. We can weigh it and come close. But a lot of times you're looking at 150 bottles. And, we've done it where we've done half of barrels and that type of stuff. That gets a little tricky for us. But we have done it, if someone didn't want the whole barrel or they want to split it with somebody. So
okay, so here's how it'll work in my head, just dumbing it down. You can buy a barrel.
Yep.
And you end up paying however many bottles are made from that barrel.
That's right.
And then you quote it at 15.
Yep.
But you don't know until the barrel's done.
That's right.
Okay, sweet. On average, is it was it 1,500 averagely or what's it?
What the whole price of the barrel?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, it could be, so it's 15 per year. So like if the bourbon is, like I said, if it's 5, that each bottle that comes out there is $75. Okay. So you're getting a cash strength bourbon ready to go out the door for $75. So if you have, 100 bottles, you're at $7,500. If you have 150, you're at 10 grand. So like I say, a lot of times we've had as many as 8 guys who just wanted to split it right down the middle. And what it was is they got 200 bottles between the 8 of them. So each of them were walking with this, beautiful cash strength bourbon, and it's costing them $1,200, which is, well worth it for your portion of what's coming out of that barrel.
Yeah. So basically what someone could do, because I'm always thinking about how can I make the most interesting gift to give to clients. Because I have clients that are paying, $3,000 plus a month sometimes. I'm like, I want to give you something that's cool.
Oh, you got, dude, these gifts are, I'm doing one Friday. This is exactly what it's for. It's for, it's actually not for Christmas. We have 2 that are coming out next Thursday that are Christmas gifts, construction company and an engineering firm or something like that. This guy's doing them as it's a party January 5th or 6th, and he's giving them out to clients and that type of thing. So that's the majority of the people that we do them for is the gifts. And we've done them for a liquor store in Florida, came down and did one with us. And so, once they have it and they're licensed, they can do whatever they want with it.
Okay. So they could resell that then.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh yeah. They can put if they slapped $100 price tag on it, it would sell like that. I mean, it's cash strength, bourbon. Some of them we have are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. So yeah, you can, what you do with them after that, if you're a licensed seller, do whatever.
How hard is it to get your liquor license?
It wasn't too bad when Josh and I were, it used to be really hard to get a liquor license in the state of Kentucky. It was more city. It's because they were allocated. Liquor, you literally had to wait until someone went out of business and you bid on that license. Not a lot, but there are several states that are still like it. I've heard a liquor license going for $90,000. Here, it's not like that anymore. If you do your paperwork and pay your whatever, you can get a liquor license. Now, I'm sure having a clean record and that type of thing, I'm sure they look into that. I don't know. I mean, Josh and I had to do all kind of, we did background tests and our looks at just because we were getting in the liquor industry. But I don't know how stringent they are on that or what disqualifies you. I don't particularly know, but it's not nearly as hard as it once was.
Yeah. I always, when I was younger and I did go to bars, I remember people who worked there would say that, their liquor license could be revoked if things happen. Just like that.
Oh, it can. You really kind of, the 3-strike thing applies to bars. I mean, that's why you have to have a really good staff who's paying attention, because your first strike is pretty well defined and, slap on the hand. You start getting into your second and third, they're locking the doors for a while. And you do not want to get into that, man. We think about that all the time to make sure that we're staying on top of it and having good bartenders. And if they see something that kind of looks out of whack, we would much rather call an Uber, pay for the Uber, send them home. I don't want anybody getting behind the wheel.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
Sure.
Now, when it comes to owning, a business like this, and this is such a hard industry to really succeed in and, even make it past the point you guys have made it, what's your average price per plate? And then what are you guys expecting volume wise? And then what capacity are you guys at right now?
So our capacity has kind of changed up. It used to, I think we can set, including the fermenter, we can probably set, 115, 120. And if Chris or Josh listen to this, I may be off a little bit on my numbers there. That's probably about capacity. It would be the capacity that I would want. Like we have 2 really private rooms that we have some of our staff will say, we can get, 26, 28 people in there. To me, no. It's too crowded. I'm a bigger dude. I want to be able to get in my seat, know, and so I think those rooms hold 22 very nicely. You can get 24 and it's not too bad. Once you get over that number, it gets too much. And so, I would say that's about capacity. As far as check average, I haven't looked at that in so long. I know, if I had Chris sitting here next to me, he could wheel off those numbers. I'm hoping it's $1.25. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping. To be honest, I don't really know that number. I haven't looked at it in a long time. I know when we started. It was about $60.
Oh, that was really, yeah.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, when our first year, nobody knew who we were. Listen, you are in this community. It's a unique community. it in itself. I mean, it's I've heard Truman Show.
Yep.
I've heard Stepford Wives. You know, it's you. But what we've learned is the support that we get from this community is fantastic. But you have to make your own way outside of this community. You have to have people who are willing to come here that aren't in the community. I believe me, I live in this community. I love it here. And like I say, they're very supportive, but you have to make your way outside. You got to have the people, people, they'll stay downtown Louisville so far away. It's 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. It's all freeway, so it's like, I want the people from Omni. I want the people from Repeal. I want those people to come down, experience us. If you're in town for 4 nights, I get it. Go to Repeal and eat, but come out here and eat. So that's a challenge for us. And that's kind of things that we work on all the time, is making sure those people know that, listen, you don't have to pack a lunch. We're not that far away from downtown Louisville. So
what are you currently doing for marketing?
A lot of social media. We're getting ready to change it up just a little bit. We have a guy coming in who's going to do some new stuff, but our marketing director is Bev, and she does some of it, and then we have a director of bourbon experiences, Brush Gill. He does some of it. We do the podcast. We're out there. We must be doing a pretty good job. Now, we look at it as that we're not doing nearly enough, but we must be doing, because the people that come from out of state find us that way. So, we must be doing something right. I'd like to do it, bigger and better, and I think we will. That was another thing that we just kind of had to learn how to do that. And we shoot video all the time. We're always little snippets of events and that type of thing. So
yeah. Getting people to know about you, especially in the Norton Commons community. I talked to another owner who owns Carums. It's like all those guys who own Carums.
Oh yeah, love those guys.
Oh yeah, no, that was like my favorite food place, because it was just quick. I get the mini burgers, I get out of there really quick. But they're like, dude, it's so hard to get out of Norton Commons, because you can only get, people can only go out dinner so many days a week.
Yeah.
Before they're like, okay, I need something else.
Yeah.
And that is a struggle. And when did you guys get past that? What year were you over that hump?
That's a great question, and I can let's see. We opened up April 8th of 22, April 8th of 23. I would say right beginning of 24 is when we started noticing people coming in and, hey guys, how you doing? Where you in from? Well, we're in from Missouri. And it's like, oh yeah, you coming in to do the Bourbon Trail? And they're like, no, we saw you all. And so that's when it's like we became the destination. Instead of the superlative for them being here for the trail or for whatever, we became like, well, we saw this, we saw the wall, on social media. My husband or my wife's a big bourbon fan. We had to come and see it for ourselves. And so while we're here, we're going on the Bourbon Trail, or we're going to Louisville Slugger or something like that. So it changed. Now we still we're on the Urban Bourbon Trail, or I think they're all one now, but we're on that. So that does help. But that's when we started seeing the change, when people from out of state started saying, no, we came because we had to see it. Mm-hmm. That was cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing right there.
Yeah. No, that is really cool. So when it comes to being a business owner, where have you found, like financially saying like, okay, you're just saying now we're just starting to break even. Like, what did that look like when you're like, oh, okay, I'm not like treading water anymore. Like this is a profitable business doing great. Yeah.
But I mean, we're still, we were talking before we went on. It's like, people have this notion that the owner of the business is just raking it in hand over fist. And, I see that light at the, I think it's there, and we certainly got into it for the experience, but we want to make money. And so, but there's a lot that goes on with it. And so, that to me is, when you start a business like that, you go in knowing that at least 5 or 7 years, you're the one being underpaid and overworked and dipping into the pocket, and that type of thing. And so, I just think that's a standard business model. I think Nobody's fixing the leak. Nobody's, switching out the rugs or the chairs. We're a restaurant. The wear and tear on everything has got to be replaced. And you fix it and you fix it and you put the Band-Aid on it as long as you can do it and still make it look cool. But at the end of the day, you're writing the check for the new chairs. And so, listen, don't get me wrong. I feel very blessed, where we are right now. Very blessed. I say every morning when I walk in there, how blessed, and I still look there. It's one of my favorite things to do is go in the morning and just sit while it's completely quiet in there. And I look at that wall and I look at the barrels and I just look and go and just how thankful I am for the spot that I'm in. Because, it's something I couldn't have fathomed, 5 years ago, to be perfectly honest. I was pretty content at Heaven Hill, but now I feel very blessed. But you're a business owner, you got into this because you're passionate about it, but you also want to make sure that there's ham and cheese in the fridge, and so we're in the same boat.
Yeah.
We're in the same boat. We have a fantastic business. We're ready for the whiskey bottling and the bottle club and that type of thing to take off. It'd be nice.
Yeah. It's always important to look at other ways you can, generate revenue. Because when I started my business, it was like, okay, we have a podcast studio. And I didn't offer any of the other like social media management and meta ads and all of that. And then I was like, okay, we're doing really good. We basically have it on lock for Louisville. Like we're the podcast studio. And then I was like, all right, all these people need these other things.
Yeah.
Like they want it. It's a part of the experience. Why not add it on? And some of you guys, people are passionate about like whiskey and bourbon. Like they want the experience. Why not add it on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a testament to Chris. I mean, the bottle club was something that we knew at some point when we were thinking this crazy idea, we knew at some point we wanted to have a bottle club. Chris, and Josh to a certain extent, we really able to get it over. It's easy to talk about ideas. It's harder to put them into action. And so when it really got into action, we see what a success that it's been so far. It's just been maybe a year and a couple months since we've done it. Probably have 250 members. And so looking forward to that to go national, because I do think that there's something there and we'll enjoy it. That revenue stream will help out certainly.
Yeah. What do you guys see as for you as a person, are you doing this to reach a number or are you just doing this for the game? The game. It's just
pretty
fun.
well. It's not a game to me, but it's more of a game than financial. Now, it'd be interesting to hear Josh's response to that question. I don't know if you're talking about, like someone coming and buying you at, what are you looking for that number or whatever? Like, I think that happens in this industry a lot. A lot of small guys who are in the whiskey business who have been small, have been bought out for obscene numbers. I don't know. We're certainly not even close enough to think about stuff like that. If that changed and we had, bottles in all 50 states and we're booming and somebody comes and says, hey, here you go. Certainly I would look at it, but to me, this is, we did exactly what we wanted to do with this place. We made it very bourbon centric. I can't believe that the city of Louisville or the state of Kentucky didn't already have something like this that was so defined by American whiskey, and they didn't. And Josh and I, we went all over to look and, did our due diligence on the computer and got on a plane a couple times and just went to see if it existed. And it really didn't. Multnomah Whiskey Library in Portland, Oregon was the closest thing that was, and Ed's become a friend of ours. And we stole a lot of his ideas blatantly. Like first time he was here, he's like, "Oh, you really did steal some ideas." I'm like, "Yeah." No, but he's a lot smaller space than us, but he's got a fantastic place. It's just it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that answered your question, but I'm in it for right now. We're just 3.5 years old. So we have a lot of ideas that are still in the hopper and that we want to that we want to see if they'll work. And the thing with Josh and I, we have been doing this since day one. We'll try anything, and we have tried some goofy stuff, and we've tried some stuff that stuck. And the only way that we knew that those ideas that were going to stick was to try them. We did. And like I say, we've done some stuff that we'll never do again just because it wasn't successful. But at least we tried, and the market told us no. So
yeah, it's always interesting to find out what drives business owners, because a lot of people want to be acquired. They want there's just this big sum of money just to flop in their lap.
Yeah,
and I think about it all the time where I'm like, what would I do if that happened? And I'm like, I'll just work more. Yeah, all I know is to work. And because I do, it's just what I do. Like, I like marketing, I like learning. And it's hard to think about I guess I just do it again. And you're like, well, why just do it again and just keep doing it? Yeah.
I mean, you wait till the non-compete's over and you get right back into it. I don't know. Like I say, the other one's certainly not off the, but we're just not there yet. I mean, we're still in our infancy stage, really. I mean, I guess we're in toddler stage now, but I don't know. It just, I think I will say this, I think we make and we don't distill anything, but we produce and blend as good as whiskey is on the market. We have some unique palates between Chris and I. Do it for the most part. Josh certainly sits in whenever he's in town and available to do it. We know what good whiskey is supposed to taste like. And here's the thing with us is you can't put the same. Now, I wish we just put Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey out every time. That's what I like. I like Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. I've kind of lost, I'm not really into the second maturation and the finishing and that type of thing. But a lot of people are. So I'm able to, and Chris is able to, even if it's something that we don't particularly like ourselves, we know if it's well put together and we know if it's going to be a hit. And so we've put out 9 expressions so far. I think that's been our stuff, 8 or 9 expressions, and they've all pretty well been well received. So that's cool.
Yeah.
More of that. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
More of that.
The creation. Now, let's say there's another restaurant owner who is listening to this, because I personally know a few. What would you say is, if you could be like, hey, do these things, you're more likely to be successful than not, what would you tell them to do?
To me, it all revolves around staff. And here, so I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but in the service industry, you get that job, you start looking for another job automatically. What Josh and I tried to do was just to nip it. So we wanted to pay their with their help on their insurance and their 401k, and make sure that they could have a living wage. I don't know any other restaurant. I don't know if I say that. I don't know any restaurant that certainly starts people and pays what we do. But we wanted our main concern before the thought of people leaving. We wanted our only main concern to be that our guys were going to get headhunted. And I think that happens now. I think there are people that look, because we want to train them as such to where they can go and be a bev director. They can go be a buyer. They can do whatever. They can certainly be a bar manager, a restaurant manager. That was that's when we want them to leave. I don't want anybody that works for me right now. I don't really want any of them to leave.
Yeah.
We have weeded out and narrowed down, because you're going to get some who they can look the part, but for one, Watchill is not easy. We have a Food Network chef who is one of the main reasons for the success of Watchill Proper, without doubt. I don't know that I've mentioned him since we've been talking, but Michael Crouch is one of the main reasons for our success. Once you have his food, you get it. You understand, oh, damn, that makes him come back the second, third, and 10th time, because his food is so unique. He's a great personality. He loves to touch tables. He loves to talk to people. Our newest release is a chef series, rye whiskey, 12-year-old rye whiskey, that's got his mug on the label of it. But that's a big part. I usually tell people, make sure that I say that there's three big ones: getting Michael Crouch, getting Carla Green, who was with me at Heaven Hill. Carla Green thinks about spirits differently. She can come up with formulas that you just you couldn't imagine. I mean, talk about talking to a mixologist and going, look, I'm going to need you to make a margarita, a daiquiri, a cosmopolitan, and the only thing you can use is American whiskey. Mm-hmm. And she absolutely killed it. We knew we wouldn't have Carla Green for very long. Carla, I love her to death. I miss her all the time. We had her for about 18 months. It wasn't really what she wanted to do. She wanted to do some other stuff, and I get it. But she left a really good ground, a really good foundation for our folks that are there now. Tom runs our bar program, and he's kind of taken what he learned from her to a different level. And then getting Chris Ballou, our general manager, he just, like I say, it's ingrained in him. He was 12 years at Jeff Ruby's. He's 8 or so years at Hall's Chop House, which is the nicest restaurant that I personally have ever eaten in South Carolina. He just thinks differently, and he was able to teach young people that were working for us. He was able to get them to think like him, and that's hard. I spent a lot of time with him, and he's passionate about service, and so he was able to get it. We've at one point had 3 doctors working for us that were at the host stand and being whiskey hustlers, and that had their doctorate, and they loved it. So they would come and they wanted to work part-time or whatever. Most of our staff is either in college or has already graduated college. So, that group of people, they're not going to be with this, this isn't what their career goal is, but they have been willing to stay with us. And some of them we have, like, I think 2 or 3 now that have been with us from day one. So if you take care of them, that was a long answer to your question of what, if I would give advice, is pay them probably more than you should, or, not more than you should. You want to give them what they can, but it make it hurt a little bit more than it should, is what I would say. You want loyalty, man. Loyalty to us is everything. We want to have a servant mentality. And if you don't fit that bill, we find out pretty quick, and we wish you the best, but you're just not a fit for us. Mm-hmm. So that would be, and keep them on your side. This industry's tough. I was in the bar business for a while. Man, people will steal from you blind. This is the service industry. It happens nonstop. But if you can keep good people and get good management, and be nice, don't be the asshole owner. I have been criticized by folks that I know pretty well now. This hasn't happened in a while. That I'm too close to my staff. It's because I say hello and I hang, I want to talk to them. I want to see how their day was. Did you graduate? How are your grades? And people are like, yeah, you can't have that relationship. Well, you can't have that relationship. Yeah, I can. That's a big one. And I think they like it. They like that they don't have to walk on eggshells when I'm around. Walk on eggshells when Jackson or Chris is around, if you're going to do it at all. But when Josh and I, we're just in there, man. We're just kind of watching our baby, how it's being run.
Yeah. It's always the, when I first started hiring employees, it was a big just mindset shift of like how to manage that. Because it went from me doing everything to now me expecting other people to do a lot of the work to the same level that I do. Like, okay, let me manage expectations, be paid. Patience has been such a thing I've learned.
Yes.
Patience, communication.
Yeah.
It's funny enough because, being a business owner makes you a better boyfriend, makes you a better husband, because you're like, oh, okay. I can speak softly to someone when they mess up, and I can also carry that over to something else when I'm frustrated. Yeah. So outside of, this is a good question for you. Outside of, the business world of owning Watchill, what has owning it taught you about life and not related to owning a business at all?
Man, that's a good question. Yeah. Just how thankful and appreciative I am for not just the club, but for a lot even smaller things. I'm just very, very appreciative, and I appreciate the staff taking care of something that they know I was passionate about. Those are the things that get me. That, little thing, big thing, whatever, but being very appreciative and thankful that I've been able to do this. I think about it all the time, and that goes back to when I said I get there in the mornings, and it could be 7:30 in the morning, and I won't even turn on the lights, and I just sit there and with nothing, not my phone, and I just soak it all in. I don't know. I think I love the fact that my son's there. He's 24 years old. He has really been managing us. We had some managerial shifts about 3 years ago, and he had never been in the service industry, kind of took over managing then, and now he's really managing. He works under Chris now. But, to see that is really, really cool, to see him go and kind of flourish. I think, if there's a couple that'll be headhunted, he will certainly be one, because for one, he's working under Chris, and Chris is good. He's learning everything that Chris knows. And so that's a big one to me. I get to see him, and, he just moved out. He just bought his own house. So it's cool now that I get to see him at work and that type of thing. He lived with us while he was getting a house. But the little things, I guess, man, I'm not a huge vacation guy. I don't, that stuff's really not all that important to me. I probably should do it more often, but the little things, soaking those in, I just feel grateful.
Yeah. I said you're not a big vacation guy. What are, outside of bourbon and work, what else are you into?
Well, I was a huge sports memorabilia guy, and I got out of it, and now it sucked me back in.
Yeah.
So I as far as like memorabilia, I like getting it, and I like giving it away. Like when I gave Josh is a huge New York Yankees fan. So I had this book that I had bought years ago, and it was the auction in New York City for all of it is after Mickey Mantle passed away. It was the actual auction book, and Mickey Mantle had signed the first 500 of these things that they put on the book. So thousands of people went to this thing, but if you were one of the first 500, you got Mickey Mantle's autograph. But what made this book cool is when they would have a picture with him and say Whitey Ford or Yogi Berra, they had signed their names throughout the book. So it had all these autographs. So I was able to give that to him because he's a diehard Yankee fan for whatever reason. I like getting it, and I like giving it away. But it's kind of sucked me in now. I've gone back and I've started buying cards. I don't know if you know anything about sports memorabilia or baseball cards, but I started buying the people that I grew up watching. That gives me that I love, I love doing that. Fishing. I got my buddy out in Oldham County. We go fishing and that type of thing. I'm not a hunter. I never really got into that, but I'm pretty easy. I'm pretty simple. I like to work. I like to be at the club and all things affiliated with it. But I hang out with my wife the majority of the time. Been married almost 30 years, and so she puts up with me.
That's another good one right there. So you say, 30 years longer than I've been alive. That's longer than my existence. What is the secret?
So we got married I guess it's almost 30 years. Let's see, we got married in 98, 80, 98, 08, 18. So 27 years, 28 years. Been together 3 years. We dated 3 years.
Yep.
It's awesome, man. I mean, imagine going to our wives. So Josh has got this engineering firm that's thriving. Becky, his wife, Isha is my wife. And so we go, I'm at Heaven Hill. Probably going to retire from Heaven Hill. I was on that course, loved it. They treated me unbelievably good. And we go, and Josh and I, after these conversations that we're having, so we go to them and tell them, this is what we want to do. We're going to take, we're going to build this thing during COVID when lead times, and you know what? I don't know how much Becky yelled at Josh. If she did, I don't know the answer to that question. She probably did, and she's awesome. But Isha just was like, hey, I hope it's just, hopefully it's a success. And so they've been right there with us the whole time. And, we get together, Ish and I and Becky and Josh get together once a month or so and have dinner and just talk about stuff. But no, it's cool. They had a lot of faith in us, to be honest. And so she's been like that since we've been together. I'm married way out of my league, to be perfectly honest. Way. And if you saw her, you go, yes, you did. But now she's awesome.
That's good. I mean, I'm always curious how to be a good business owner and, a good partner at the same time, because owning a business is so demanding.
It is.
And so it's emotionally draining. And then you're like, okay, I still need to have the emotion for when I get home or after a long day.
Yeah.
What have you learned through that?
Yeah, it can be. And she can tell pretty quick if it's been one of those, or if it's, the highs can be really high. And I try not to bring the lows too bad, especially around her. But, she's been around me this long. She knows when something's up. So, I try not to take the bad. But there again, I try not to, if it's something bad, I may not try to make it sound as bad as it is. But she's really good at walking me through and she's a lot smarter than I am. She's a suit in the medical field. She's dealt with probably everything that I've dealt with. She's had tons of employees that have worked under her. So she's really good at, telling me stay calm and calm down. Cool. It'll work itself out. She's really good at that. A lot better than I ever have been. And Josh is too. Josh is very kind of mild-mannered, and not that I'm not mild-mannered. I have probably more peaks and valleys than all three. His wife and him, or Isha. I probably have a few more peaks and valleys as far as, oh gosh, or but no, she's great. And there is especially at your age, you gotta, if you have a young wife, they don't want you bringing that. So they want to hear the goods and they want to hear the bads to a certain extent. But, you can't take it out on them because of something that happened between these walls.
Yeah. No, that's one thing.
You'll pay for it.
Oh, yeah. That's one thing I'm always, I think I'm similar to you in the sense of like, I have a lot of peaks and valleys. Like if I win, I feel really, really good.
Yes.
And if an employee is like, hey, I quit on you, I'm very, very angry.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm like,
yeah.
I just get very flustered. And my whole family's like that. The guys are always like,
my son's like that. Jackson's like that. He has more he's very calm, but as he gets older, he gets a little more like that, calling in or whatever it may be. He's like, so.
Yeah, I compare it to like it's like the dad anger where it's like he's working on a car and like the rotator, whatever thing's not coming out. And he just starts, Tigger just hit the car. He's like, ah.
Yeah.
And I feel that because my grandpa's like that. They all like work on cars big with their hands.
Yeah.
So the older I get, I'm like, man, I got to make sure I don't turn into the old angry car guy.
You won't. You're a business owner at a young age, man. You'll see the good thing about is you'll see it all. So you'll learn how to adapt. You may not get it right the first time, but if it ever happens again, you'll nail it. And I go through that. Josh goes through that too. It's like you see something for the first time, you have to adjust to it, but you have it in your memory bank for the next time that it happens, you'll know how to handle it. So to be 30 years old or however you are, you got a pretty good head start.
Yeah, it's a fun journey. And I get to sit down with other business owners and
it's fun, man.
Their brain.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I'm glad to be here. This was fun.
Well, great. Where can people find you? Where are you located? Where can they subscribe?
So we're right down the street from you. We're at 11201 River Beauty Loop. Our website is just watchillproper.com. Watchill Whiskey Company, I think it's .com. And so, we always have events there. We have learned, and you should certainly look into that. Whatever, like down next door to us, down from us is Atrium. They learned pretty quick from, I don't know, not specifically talking to us, but they started seeing that, on a Tuesday or Wednesday night when we were having events, and so they started doing silent disco and bingo and stuff like that. But it gets people in there with a drink in their hand, and so that, you know, we have a lot of events, and, you know, for the longest time, thank goodness I did not have to come on this podcast and say something that I have probably said on 50 other interviews or whatever. We made the mistake when we very first opened. We didn't really, it wasn't a mistake that we thought, but people thought that you had to be a member to come in the club.
I thought that.
And so we had a, I am not kidding you. If we were being interviewed, I could literally say, you don't have to be a member. The only thing that the public heard was, I think he said you have to be a member. And it was like, no. And so we spent a year fighting that. We have a membership element, like I said, but no, you don't have to be a member at all. Come in, you know, we're on, you can, you know, call the place direct and Watcholl direct and make a reservation, and we're on,
Open table.
Open table.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, man, it was great having you on the podcast.
This was fun, dude. Yeah, I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.